The reason why many people believe Ghanaians pronounce words better than Nigerians, part 2. Today's revelation will be absolutely shocking for a lot of persons, especially Ghanaians. Now, the question a lot of people are asking is this: where did the recent accent of saying this sentence normally said like this using RP? I'll come help you cut some of the fish. Just get my hand gloves under the table and get me a cup of water. To something like this: I'll come help you cut some of the fish. Just get my hand gloves under the table and get me a cup of water. Ghanaians have not always spoken like this. Let's find out what really happened to them. So I decided to do an academic research as to why Ghanaians and northern Nigerians pronounce the word cut as cat, while southern Nigerians pronounce the same word as caught. What I found in a research work published in the year 2000 by Augustin Simo Bobda at the University of Yaoundé in Cameroon really explained the entirety of how and why Ghanaians and northern Nigerians sound different from the rest of the English-speaking West Africans. However, I'm going to start with the open mid-central vowel sound found in words such as cut, love, and fun for today. We're going to look at other vowel sounds in our subsequent classes, okay? Now, it might interest you to know that the open mid-central vowel in cut was once a back vowel in English. However, due to language changes, which of course, you know, it's inevitable, the sound went from being a back vowel to being a central vowel. While English people moved on with the central vowel realization, Scottish and Irish people perhaps didn't experience such change. The strut vowel remains a back vowel in Scottish English, while in Irish English it remains rounded. Now, in Standard English spoken since the 19th century, the vowel is now centrally placed and also unrounded. The Scottish and Irish were the first set of Britons to come to West Africa. They came as missionaries, which explains why many West African countries realize the strut vowel as an R sound, except for Ghanaians and northern Nigerians. Explaining why northern Nigerians sound different from southern Nigerians as they pronounce the strut vowel in cut, fan, and san as cat, fan, and san. A linguist known as Awonusi in his research work published in 1986 wrote that Hausa people were influenced by Britons from southern England who brought the central unrounded version of the strut vowel to them. Now, this makes perfect sense because I've always wondered how Hausa people sounded Ghanaian. That reminds me, one Hausa Nollywood actor known as Ali Nuhu spoke like this in the early days of his acting career, and candidly speaking, I always thought he was Ghanaian due to his accent. Recently, I watched a short clip of him being interviewed, and to be honest, that whole northern pronunciation of his has really reduced. I'm not so sure if he consciously did it, or maybe it could have been something unconsciously done. Well, I can't really tell, but maybe because he starred a lot in a lot of southern movies, that could be why he kind of like changed. Now, another linguist who published his paper in 1996 also wrote that the reason why East Africa, such as Kenya and Uganda, and Southern Africa, such as South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and Botswana, realized the strut vowel as a is because the Britons from England settled there in the end of the 19th century, at the time when the strut vowel has now gained an unrounded quality. In essence, we have seen genuine reasons why East Africa, Southern Africa, and Northern Nigeria have similar pronunciation, and that's because they were heavily influenced by Britons from England, whereas the others were influenced heavily by Britons from Scotland and Ireland. However, why has Ghanaian English speakers moved from using the R sound, which happens to be the realization of the strut vowel brought by Scottish and Irish missionaries to West Africa, to using a, now tending to sound more like Northern Nigerians, East Africans, and Southern Africans? Let's have a closer look at what other African linguists said. A study done by Gyasi in 1991 showed that Ghanaians around the coastal Gas, I don't really know where that is, preferred the R sound, as at that time, that's in the 1980s. Now, earlier in 1987, another linguist, Ajayi, said younger Ghanaians of that time favored the A sound as a realization of the Strut Vowel, while the older generation of Ghanaians preferred the O sound, meaning the older generations of Ghana would rather say caught instead of cat. Also, a book written by, say, I don't know whether I got the pronunciation well, that's a Ghanaian linguist, and the book was written in 1973. The book highlighted the features of educated Ghanaian English pronunciation, and none, absolutely none, contained the A as a substitute for the Strut vowel. As a matter of fact, educated Ghanaians sounded more like Nigerians who pronounce cut, sun, fun, and love as caught, son, fun, and love. Since Ghanaians once sounded like Nigerians because they both had the same colonial masters with Sierra Leone, Cameroon, and the Gambia, how come Ghana singled themselves out and now sounds so different from the rest of the English speakers of West Africa? Augustin Simo Bobda ended up writing something significant for us to take note of, which I sincerely hope it won't cause another inter-country war between Ghana and Nigeria. Or maybe they probably might have to drag Cameroon into the equation because it's a Cameroonian linguist that said this. Now, Augustine, in his paper published in 2000 titled The Uniqueness of Ghanaian English Pronunciation in West Africa, said this, and I quote, "Given that Ghanaians had the same colonial experience as Southern Nigerians, Cameroonians, Sierra Leoneans, Gambians with respect to the colonial input for all sound, there is no justification for their A other than their sensitivity to stigmatized forms and their ever readiness to change to the fashionable form." Now, this reminds me of a drama I read about the Fanti people of Ghana in my literature class in secondary school, titled Sons and Daughters, written by the late Ghanaian playwright Joe de Graft, where he discussed the generational tensions and showed the social stratification in post-colonial Ghana. I also read other books like this, like Seas Where Bansi is Dead. I also read No Longer at Ease, and there's another Ghanaian book that I read, The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born. Let's get back to our linguistic analysis. Now, one of the linguists also wrote that northern Nigerians have been powerfully influenced by southern Nigerians since entertainment comes mostly from the south. Younger northern Nigerians would rather not say the word cut as cat. You will mostly hear this cat pronunciation from the older generation of northerners. I'm really sure many people didn't know this part of our linguistic history. Now, I have to say many thanks to all the linguists that made this history possible through their apt documentation of the evolution of the English language in West Africa. In case you want to learn more about how you can realize the exact production of the Strut vowel sound, please do check out my previous video of a linguistic analysis of how you can correctly produce the Strut vowel. Do follow, like, and share. I'm King Ife, and I more than anything love to see you prosper. Thank you.